Gentlemen, an interesting day. Let's see here. This is part of this deal. Bear with me. No, that goes to the other sb-220. That's this deal here. Okay. This has been a long day, you guys. I have spent last 4 days out working on my own mobile because I'm going to live in it for a month. I'm going to live in it for a month. And what I need to do is get myself ready for that. But I am going right through where this guy lives. And I got to get him back his piece of equipment. I've had it forever. This is a really clean, good example of an sb-220. Got a couple small problems. It's got an aftermarket rectifier board in it, an aftermarket filter bank with a good Harbach filter bank in it. It's really clean, as we can see on the bottom here. It's actually in relatively good shape. Everything's zip tied where it needs to be, and whoever put this together eventually, at one point or another, really cared. Let's see. I gotta get my head wrapped around this one here for a second. The way it has been done is it's not got the grids grounded, which we'll do before it leaves here. Let me go look at my notes. I want to make sure I'm telling you the whole story here. Okay, now I got my head wrapped around this. This gentleman that owns this amp, sold him a couple things. I've worked with him a few times. But this whole situation is a little messed up. And let me explain to you what I mean by messed up. He calls me and says, man, I've got an sb-220 here. I want you to come take a look at it, or I want you to look at it. And I said, sure. No problem, I got you, man. I said, I happen to be coming right through your neck of the woods here in a few weeks. And all I ask is that you hook me up with some gas money. And he's like, okay, that sounds like a great deal. So I swing through there, and he proceeds to tell me when I get there. Doesn't say anything to me on the way down. I drove an additional 2.5 hours one direction out of my way, and another 2.5 hours to get back on my main track to where I was going to pick up this amp. I show up at his place, and I'm texting him saying, hey man, I'm on my way, blah, blah, blah. Never get an answer. I finally get to his house, ring the doorbell, ding dong. Nothing. I'm like, okay, cool, I'm out. Just about the time I go to leave, he comes out, hey man. I'm like, cool, let me grab that sb-220 from you. So give me some gas money. I'm thinking, like, you know, to ship one of these things is a couple $100, right? I know this has got nothing to do with the repair. He goes, oh, I'm sorry, I just had to change banks, was the story. And I don't have any cash. And I'm like, well, cool, give me a credit card. I ain't got no credit card. I'm like, God dang, okay, that wasn't what we agreed to. Needless to say, I went ahead and loaded the thing up and went on my way. So about 5 hours later, I'm back where I need to be, and I'm hustling down the road, and I'm like, whatever. So then I get it back here. And then I go to look at it, and the plate transformer and the filament transformer on this are completely dead. So I go out and I find him a new plate transformer and a new filament transformer, and I call him and said, okay, this is what you're looking at to get this thing repaired. Oh, well, that's kind of odd, because it was all right. Well, I don't want to pay all that. So, well, what do you want to do? He goes, well, how about I get you? How about I get you these sb-220, this transformer, that he had, right? And this filament transformer that he had. He goes, well, I've got those parts here. And I'm like, God dang, dude, what? Now I'm feeling like, okay, this situation is getting a little silly. What I mean by that is I drove 5 hours out of my way, basically, to pick this unit up. And he had, magically, these two parts just hanging out. But he felt perfectly comfortable, one, not compensating me for gas, and two, second thing, is not bothering to say to me, hey, I happen to know for a fact that the plate transformer and the filament transformer are blown out of the amp. So let me go through all the diagnostic time. This is starting to add up now, right? I'm like, fine. Well, I'm going to be back down there. I'll swing through where you're at, pick the amp up, or pick the parts up. You can pay me that gas money, because I just got to come to the town you're in, then I'm going to turn around and leave again. I get down there, he gives me the parts, another excuse, no money. No money, right? So I gather up all the parts, blah, blah, blah. And I head home. Now I'm trying to be very forgiving. I'm trying to be understanding and empathetic to this guy, because I kind of like him. We've done business before, right? So then he calls me up like once a month and doesn't understand that now he's on the back burner, because I've been told now several times, oh, I'll pay you, blah, 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 and no money ever comes forth. None whatsoever. Well, finally he calls me and said, you know what? Here, let's do this. Let's do this. You pay me X amount of dollars and I'll get to it when I can. Well, he says, great. You know, basically what I got out of him was my gas money for the 2 trips it took to get all these parts here, right? This won't take too horribly long to do, what we're having to do here to get this thing running again. This is not that big of a deal. But I put him on the back burner, and I think you guys can kind of understand why. At this point, I'm a little frustrated with him, and I'm frustrated with the situation, and I'm kind of frustrated overall, and I'm just like, you know what, dude, I just don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this amp. I don't want to deal with this guy. And what I should have done is just taken back his stuff. When this whole thing came out, he knew that these parts were bad. He knew. But he thought he'd just let me flounder in the wind. I don't know what the deal was. It broke, or I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really care at this point. I just personally was like, damn, man. Damn. This thing's very well put together. Whoever had this before him really loved on it. This has been in a non-smoking environment, and this is a beautiful, beautiful example of an sb-220. The problem is the parts that he gave me are scody as shit. What do you mean? Well, these wires are all way whacked off. So's this. So now I've got to retrofit. I'm sure going to end up doing some retrofit here. And hopefully these transformers are good. If they're not any good, I'm going to take it back to him and literally drop it off on his doorstep, and I'm done. Because he's never going to pay me what I'm into this for. No way. But like I said, in all fairness, I'm going through there. So I figured I could take some time and go over this really quickly. Swap out transformers, this one and this one, which is not that big of a deal. It's a little bit of time consuming endeavor, but it's not that big of a deal. And get it back running for him. And then maybe, just maybe, when I show up to drop this off, instead of getting some kind of weird runaround, he says, hey, how about I pay you for bringing this back? You know, gas money and time kind of thing. Doubtful, but I can dream, and I will dream. Here's what got me the most irritated with this situation, with this guy. He's one of two people that called when my dad was sick and says, hey, what's the deal with my stuff? The other guy's stuff, the dude that called, this knob is borked. Yeah, typical. Busted off on the inside. Called and what's the deal with my stuff? I'm like, hey man, you're gonna have to give me time. I'm dealing with a family crisis. Literally the biggest family emergency that you can ever have. You know, family member dying. And he did not want to let me process through that and kind of put some pressure on me a little bit. So if you guys are anywhere curious, you're now kind of getting how forgiving I am as a human being. I try to be fairly tolerant and treat people the way I want to be treated. But, yeah. The other guy, fixed his stuff and sent it back to him. Like, here you go, dude. Leave me alone. I don't want to deal with you anymore. You're fired as a customer. Which, guess what? I am fully, totally allowed to do. I am now on the point in my life where I don't have enough patience for people that don't want to be respectful and understand that there's only one of me and about a million things you all want me to do. And I'm okay with that. The million things that everybody wants me to do. Pulling the faceplate off because it just makes this easier. After you've done a couple of these, you realize, hey, Phillips, that was a flat blade and that's a Phillips. You realize sometimes it's easier just to go in reverse than trying to sneak everything around everything else, right? It's easier just to leave the rectifier board in it. I don't know, I just... Frustrating. Disappointing is what it is. But we're going to do the best that we can. We're going to repair this the best that we can. And we're going to take care of him, but then we're done. I'm not doing anything more. I'm not getting talked into any more projects. I'm not doing it. I am done, as they say. There it is. Which is okay. It's going to be okay. At the end of the day, the moral of the story is I took care of the guy, even though I feel like I've been wronged a little bit. So what? Life will go on. I'm sitting here talking about it on video. You guys don't know any names. Nobody's getting hurt, but I'm still doing my job, right? And we will endeavor to endure together. We don't want to break that switch. We definitely don't want to break these meters. Come on. There it is. Okay, let's get out a nut driver. I'll be back. I remember the first time I worked on one of these, I was so overwhelmed. Now it's all like, let's just pull the parts out and I know where to put everything back. I thank God for the gentleman that made it possible for me to build one of these completely from out-of-the-box kit to complete. Yeah, just being able to do that taught me a lot. Learned a lot, seen a lot, learned a lot. I have a feeling this has been changed before. Listen, this isn't very common, but I have seen this twice. The last time I seen one of these where it had both transformers blown out, high tap, low tap, ground common swap for the 110 taps, because it's dual 110 taps. So when you tie these two legs together, it makes a 220. That's okay. And then we only pull off one leg off the switch for the 110 volt side. Then our output filament voltage, or output 110 volt bias flop. And then down here, where are these two leads? Here. The brown and green leads. The dual browns are our other 110 volt, and that's what runs the lights and a few other things. Fan, that kind of thing. All goes through the filament. I have seen this, like I said, twice before. Once was my friend Larry Braden. We don't know what happened. All we know is the amp fell. He had the shelving system set up, and the amp took a nosedive off the shelving system. It didn't bend anything up in the front, but it friggin' wiped out the plate transformer and wiped out the filament transformer somehow. Like the primary windings got broken. Sat there on a variac, turn up, down, no big deal, didn't care. It would not light. And my other friend, I call him, well, Larry, the other Larry, mutual friend Larry Braden and myself, we sat here one afternoon and we did this in about 4.5 hours, or we swapped everything in about 4 hours and got it back to him within 24 hours, which was amazing. Absolutely amazing. That it was just a fun little adventure. But everything's disconnected now. Now you guys know with the older transformers over here, the color code's the same but slightly different. I guess would be the best way to put it. The colors over here are really faded. So we really have to pay attention to where things go. So this black and red translates to this black and red. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut that. It's like this black and yellow here translates to this black and yellow, but then the black and yellow on this filament transformer, which is what? Should be two reds, a green and black, black and yellow. I'm assuming this is our black and yellow. I love my job. Freaking love my job. This green and yellow here on this transformer has been replaced by this green and yellow. So be very careful of this wire, by the way. This is asbestos. I mean, if the lifelong of smoking and drinking and everything else doesn't get me, the asbestos wire coating will. This is fiberglass. This is cloth embedded fiberglass. That's asbestos. 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 Cloth woven fiberglass. Asbestos really isn't a big deal unless you move it around and break it up into a particulate matter and then proceed to snort it like a cocaine Charlie. I mean, I'm just saying. So, newer transformer, much older transformer. But older does not mean bad. Does not mean bad. Alright, so let's take the connections for the plate transformer off next, which won't take too long. It's just a couple of those wires. Two, I think. And then I gotta disconnect the filaments on the top side. I don't want to lose this washer. Little washers are, well, are down the street at the Ace Hardware, but if any of you that have been following me on Facebook, I've been trolling the owner of the Ace Hardware. We're friends on Facebook. And I've been kind of ragging on him a little bit about how incredibly overpriced his washer hardware selection is. Okay, so we're going to drop off this wire here, and then we're going to disconnect the center tap from the rectifier board. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Whatever, roll with it. Now, as I wait for my iron to heat up, what I can do and what I'm going to do is I sneak a soldering iron back in here behind the board, and I hit the center tap of the diode ring. So this is a voltage doubler is what they call it. So you have one half of the rectifier ring, so you have a diamond. Up at the top you have positive, then your two AC inputs, and then your ground. On a voltage rectifier, half of the diamond is the capacitors, and the other half over here is diodes. So you put AC in here and AC in here on your diamond and your rectifier, and it doubles the voltage. But for us to pull that off, you have to have a significant more, it pulls more amperage. So you double the voltage, but you also have to be able to supply double the amps. So if you have a 1 amp circuit, let's say, right, you need a 2 amp transformer at half the rated voltage, and you can double it, and it'll work out just fine. So let's see. I need my needle nose. I'm able to get in there. That's that. So now all I got to do is drop hardware. So we're going to do this transformer first, and then we'll come along and we'll do the plate transformer next. The easy part is taking this apart. The hard part's putting it back together. And now that I've stood here and stared at this for a couple minutes, the clues have been here the entire time. I'll show you what I mean here in a second. It's just easier to let this hardware drop and then pick it up here in a minute. All right, let me get, come here. Okay. See what I forget. Oh shit, center tap. Okay, got the center tap here. There's gonna have to be a lot of splicing with this transformer. I'll show you what I mean in a second. So, let me slide this out. I know this looks like I'm being kind of rough on this thing, but I'm not. It's had a way harder life before it got to me. That's for sure. Okay. If we take note of the back edge of this cabinet, there we go. Hardware, hardware, hardware. Washer nut, star washer for the front. Okay. Oh, it's so light and easy to move around now, oddly enough. If we take note of the back of this cabinet, we'll see it's all bent in. None of this is straight or square. This is beat down. This is all folded in, bent down. This is all bent. This plate is actually the base plate, which we've seen many, many, many times, is bent. But what I don't understand is this here. Look at this ring that's been cut in the back. Look at this. It's like somebody with a hole saw at some point went, yeah, but see, that's all bent. This thing has been dropped and beat up. I'm not saying this would cause both of the transformers to fail. Hell, it could have been a voltage spike. It could have been lightning. You know, Larry's amp got wiped out because it got dropped. The other one I have seen that was like this, it didn't get hit by lightning, but it was a proximity of lightning to the power lines. The guy's, not tower, but like fence. So the electrical lines ran down the backside of his property, and the metal fence on the back of the property got hit by lightning. That coupled to the power line and wiped out a bunch of stuff in his house, and the insurance company paid me to repair the amp. But both the transformers were gone. So we don't know. All I know is that doesn't produce any shmoo, that doesn't produce any shmoo. Now, the transformers, like I said, were supplied by the customer. Don't know. Let's take a look at this wire. See this wire length here versus this wire length here? This is way shorter in all aspects. Here, I actually crop it so you can see what the hell I'm talking about. This is way shorter. This direction in length, look at this. There's quite a few wires that are on this that are, I'm going to have to probably extend 2 or 3 of the wires. And the same thing with the filament transformer. See what I'm saying? There's some differences. So it's not a big deal. Nothing a little bit of heat shrink and some high volt wire can't handle. It's been a long day, dude. Long day. A lot of stuff go on. Tomorrow, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out and I'm going to come finish this. I'll get this all put back together. We'll ground the grids on it real quick. We'll drop the bench tubes in it, and we'll hit it and quit it like there's no tomorrow. And I'm going to quickly change gears. I got an sb-220 that's in the customer state's really good shape. I haven't looked at it yet. It's got a set of tubes with it and everything that the customer wants me to go through, certify, and sell to one of you guys. So y'all are going to want to watch that video for sure. But for now, at this moment, my happy old butt is going in the house, and I'm going to go see if my wife will let me touch her butt. Probably won't, because she's dead asleep. You know how it is. You've been married for 10, 12 years. Yeah, I'm going to go sleep. I'll see you guys in the morning. Oh, that'd be nice to get that, but nah, ain't happening. I know it's not happening. But an old young man can dream. Who's a good boy? Huh? Come here. Yeah, hi, buddy. So we've got the transformer in, the filament transformer in. I stayed up a little bit after I cut the camera off last night and got these in and everything installed, wired in. Wanted to do it while I had it fresh in my mind. So we got both the switches on this thing on. We've got our high volt probe here and 1001 reduction probe. Let's see what happens here. Something's not right. Let's try a different outlet here. No, should have growth by now. Nope, nothing. Circuit is dead. Shut power off. Let's disconnect the power. Our probe here. And probe here. Turn our probe here. And ground it. Okay. So, Houston, we have a problem. I had it wired for 110. Doesn't really matter. I just wanted to see if it would jump up and come to life. Both the breakers are reset. Well, let's go ahead and let's tilt this thing up on its side. hate to lay it on its lid in this current configuration, try to power it up, but I don't have a choice. Shit. Okay. I got a probe on the inside to see what we got for voltages here. So let's go ahead and we'll bring this around. See, I can grab the high voltage here on the front. Right there. Grab this here. Whoa, 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 whoa! Not my best cinematic moment here, I swear. All right, that there. Grab that there. Okay. Amp, let's see. Off, on. Let's try this again. Nah, I should have bolts by now. Okay. Let's see what we got going on. Let's grab this voltmeter. We'll put it on the AC side. Grab the case. We'll grab back here. There's 10 volts present. 15 volts present. Come up here to the front. Voltage present. Output side. Voltage present. Voltage present. The on-off switch is working for sure. Voltage coming in. Voltage going to the high-low tap. So that means I've got it on the primary. I got anything coming out of the secondary on the transformer? Let's go over here. We'll probe here. How can that even be? How can that even be? I got nothing on the secondary on this new, quote, replacement transformer. Interesting. Interesting. I mean, what are the odds that this guy bought, let's say those are the stock transformers, and then he bought transformers from someplace, let's say, and they're bad. I'm having a hard time putting this together. See, look, this is, we'll clip onto the primary side for the high voltage. Let me pan over here a little bit more. Click on the primary side for the high voltage. We'll come to the secondary. So this is our primary side. Check this out. Turn this on. So we'll put 31 volts in the transformer. Variac's not giving me any kind of resistance. And then we'll come over here and we'll probe the secondary. We got nothing. It's trying. The transformer's trying. It's just like it's not completing this. So, okay. What are the odds of that? So here is the primary side of the filament transformer. Let's test this instead. Let's go look at this instead. So it's the red and black wire, and then the all black wire are the primary sides of the filament transformer. So we're throwing voltage in it. We're putting 45 volts in the transformer. We'll come clip on here to the secondary side for the filament leads. Nothing. And I mean nothing. Then a complete different winding. We'll go over here. And we'll look at the 110 volt lead that runs the relay and the bias and the fan, or and the lights. We got nothing. Now we know that the fan and the lights on the front all go through the filament transformer. The fan's not turning, the lights aren't lighting up. We got voltage going in and nothing coming out. How is it by chance that this guy will assume that these two transformers here, the stock ones, had damaged transformers here, but then bought from some random place damaged transformers from somebody else? Dude, there's something completely amiss with this entire situation. I guess I need to call the customer. I got to break down and call the customer now, because A and B or 1 and 2 are not adding up here. High volt is attached to this meter, and we got this attached to the filament voltage. So variac on. Oh, look at that. Oh, here comes our filament volts. And here comes the plate transformer. I don't want to go all the way up in voltage, but let's see if we got high voltage. We got high volts. Okay, so I got to thinking. I went and I looked at the schematic. Now, obviously this amp has been worked on a couple times. Let's make sure our bleeders are working. But please note, I got one hand in my pocket. I'm not touching anything in this department until this reads 0. I had a guy basically chew me out on one of the comment sections, one of my videos, saying, "You don't ever show the proper electrical procedure dealing with high voltage. You're going to kill somebody." Went off on me. I'm like, oh, okay. Actually, it's the opposite. But, so I watched you reach over the top of an open sb-220 one time. Right. I'm almost 7 foot tall. If I reach over something, see my hand's over the sb-220 right now. Ready? Right over the top. Still have a ½ a foot worth of gap. Whatever. I got to looking at the schematic, and I have all the transformers wired in the right place. And I thought, no, wait a minute. Because this thing is wired for 110 volt, maybe whoever worked on this before flip-flop the leads that go to the on-off switch. And I went, oh. So I went to probing. Sure enough, the leads on the on-off switch were flip-flops. So now the way they had it set up is they had the neutral coming to the top switch and the hot going to the bottom. And I'm like, no. So I flip-flop them, and guess what? Everything comes back to life. It makes a difference when you got it wired 110. It's the reason why the son of a bitch wouldn't turn on. Okay? So I go and I probe these pieces of shit. And guess what? They're dead. So at the end of the day, we figured out what was going on here. Let's see, where are we at with our bleeder circuit? We're at 21 volts. 19 volts and dropping. End of the day, we've identified everything in here. That would have made all kinds of other problems for this dude. Somebody took this apart before and worked on it. They didn't put it back together properly. It was these two leads here on the switch, right? Right here, these two leads. So, okay, now what we got to do is put this all back together. We're going to put some tubes in it, and we're going to make sure it works. Well, okay, so we're on CW tune. We'll go ahead and go over to the high volt side. We're at 3,000 volts. Over here, we've got our 1,000 watt in peak, 1,000 in average, and 5 watt slug in reverse, back from the bird, 10,000 watt dummy load. We're going to use the bench 955, which we have set for the bottom end of 10 meters. Oh yeah, it's already making power. Look at that. At 1111111. Oh, I'm being really hard on the radio, and I don't want to be. Here, let's do this. Off the pedal, back on the pedal. Where does this thing want to tune? It's arcing. Dust. I know we're working right because we got the right grid. Oh. Tubes take a minute. All I know is it's making power. Our input tune isn't horrifically bad. I've just got to find the tune on the knobs, the key knobs. I did ground the grids on this already. So technically all we got to do now is make this thing calm down and run, and then I can send it on its way down the road. So let me sit here and play with it and see what we can get out of it. This poor little amp could tell a tale. This is one of its breakers. This is a 10 amp breaker. This thing pops at about 5 amps. This is another 10 amp breaker that's at the back. It pops at about 4 amps. The blocking, this is the bypass doorknob. It's supposed to be 100 or 1000 picofarad. This measures out to be about 420 picofarad. This is the blocker. This is supposed to read 1000 microfarad. It reads 880. But this particular blocker holds the record for the softest but not blown blocker I've ever had come through my shop. It's way out of value and way out of tolerance, and I can't believe this thing didn't pop. Throw those in the trash. So what we did is we came in here and we replaced the blockers with, let's grab something non-conductive, that way people don't freak out, and I'll hold it 2 feet away from the camera. This one with a ceramic and that with a ceramic. And boy, that made all the difference in the world. Now, as you can see, I'm sitting here futzing with the 10 meter band. There is, I added a couple capacitors to that, and we all know why. What was going on was because the capacitors were so far out of whack. This one and that one. Go to load the thing up, and I get up to about 400 watts and it had popped a breaker. Or I load it up and the thing would sit there and just oscillate, like it would build its own power. I'd step on the foot pedal and put it into operation. Check it out. Yeah, see, look at that. Good bias. I put it into operation, it'd sit there and make 200 watts of its own power, so I couldn't get the input tune to come down. Well, as soon as I changed the blocker and the bypass cap, those problems went away. So then we went and massaged the input. Let's go up here to the striker. So I had to chase this all over the place. Bypass tune's not horrible, not great, but not horrible. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. 2 bars and less than a watt worth of input reflag. So that's right, for the most part. at least the frequency he's going to be operating it on. So now, this is a 1,000 watt and 2x, 1,000 an average, 5 watt slug and reverse back from the Bird 10,000 watt dummy load. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Putting exactly 100 watts into this amplifier. With 100 watts of drive, hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, hello. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. Getting 13, 14 and some change out of this box, which translates to working perfectly. I could probably spend another hour and a half working with the input and get it perfect. I'm going to flip the amp over. We're going to put a 30 picofarad capacitor on the relay on the bottom. And what that'll allow us to do is have a nice smooth pass through for the frequency this guy's wanting to work at. But at the end of the day, what we've done is it came in here completely broken with multiple other fingers in it, 2 blown transformers, 2 bad breakers, a bypass cap bad, a blocking capacitor bad, input tune was bad. It's all fixed. It's all done. So the only thing I have to do now is wait for my precious tubes to cool off, my tubes. Go ahead and throw the face back on this thing. Put that capacitor on the bottom. Put the lid on it. Put it in its armor and run it out the door. So, yeah, that's it. I'm actually done. I know this is a little bit of a hurried video, and I don't want you guys to think that it's because I'm disappointed in this guy's actions, because it's not. I'm running out of time. I got a lot of things I got to get done in this next week. I have another whole video I need to shoot today about an sb-220, but hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We're the plate amp meter. We know we're right. We know we've got it right just based off of this meter. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Pulling about 600 mils, making about 1,400 watts worth of power. Like I said, this is only with 100 watts drive. So we know that we're in top shape. I'm excited. I'm excited to get this out of here. Cosmetically on the outside, this thing was probably 10 being perfect, 1 being mono banded with an extra tube in it and an external power supply that'll kill somebody. This is probably an 8.9 to 9 cosmetically, between its tin and everything. I mean, it's actually cosmetically in great shape. Internally, it was a mess, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was a lightning strike near this thing. I don't know. Well, there's no way it could have worked. The way that the power wires are flip-flopped at the switch, it would have never worked right. Never for this guy. So, at the end of the day, it's fixed. I can go to sleep quietly tonight knowing that I did this guy solid and the thing is perfect. So, on that note, we're going to wrap this up. I want to say a big shout out to my Patreon supporters. Thank them for the, well, approximately half hour worth of ad-free video that you guys get to watch. Of course, they're going to get to see this first, and they have access to everything that comes up for sale. So that sb-220, they're going to have access to it 2 days before you guys do, if not more, in regular YouTube land. Then I put up posts in there every day about what I'm working on. I want to think about joining us. I work on the 1-to-1 system. I provide the content, and if you guys think it's worth it, maybe you might want to come help support. I don't know, just saying. Big shout out to Penta. Let's slide over here so we can get everybody's logos on the screen. Big shout out to Penta, Siglent, XS, McMahon, Bird, and Coaxial Dynamics as always. Last but not least, thanks to every single one of you guys that is a supporter. By watching, clicking, giving me a subscribe, give me a thumbs up, making a comment, it all helps. Gentlemen, if there's anything I can ever do for you, any questions, any comments, anything, give me a call. That's my number. The only day I'm closed is on Sunday. Otherwise, it's 9 to 5, regular business hours. And I try to get back to everybody that calls me on the daily. On that note, I appreciate every single one of you guys. I'm out of here. Time to put the faceplate on this old girl and get her back to her owner. Gentlemen. Oh, and one last note. The tuning on both of these is very, very sensitive. That's the difference between, 14, 15, 1600, 2000 watts. That there, 800 watts. So to the new owner, or to the owner of this thing, tune this carefully. Small adjustments. Okay. On that note, I'm history, gentlemen. I'll see you, and I thank every single one of you. Click, click.